Thank you, everybody, for being on the call. Hopefully, it'll be a quick one, and let me turn it over to Joe Donchez.
Thank you, Walt, and Happy New Year, everybody. Thanks for participating in the off-cycle call. I apologize that we needed to schedule this, but the week immediately after our last audit committee meeting, we received a notification from the Pennsylvania State Employees Retirement System that Penn State had been again selected to participate in a verification process of the census data for the State Employee Retirement System plan. For those of you that have been on the committee for a while, you'll recall the first time this occurred was back in 2016. Penn State was selected to participate in the valuation at that time. The State Employee Retirement System, as part of their financial reporting under GASB number 68, which is Accounting and Financial Reporting for Pensions, is required to provide adequate documentation to their external auditors, KPMG, around the census data, the completeness and accuracy of the census data. And to accomplish that on a cyclical 3-year basis, they actually select employers within the plan, within the State Employee Retirement System plan, to provide their own independent assurances. To that end, in 2016, we added an audit to the scope of the Deloitte and Touche work with the university, and that audit was completed satisfactorily with no exceptions noted. We've asked Deloitte to do the work again with this most recent request, which would be the census data as of December 31, 2019. The reason we come to you today is because the audit needs to be completed and submitted by March of 2020. We didn't feel, neither Deloitte nor the senior management team felt that waiting till the end of February board meeting would allow Deloitte appropriate time to do their work and issue the report, which is why we're asking you to approve the engagement letter that you have in your board effect material this morning. Just to let you know, since it was a first-time engagement in December of 2016 when this was done, both Deloitte and the university were not quite sure what the scope of the engagement would be and what would be satisfactory. Again, I wanted to let you know that last engagement went very well, and in light of that, Deloitte has actually reduced their fee to the number that you see in the engagement letter that you have in board effect. We have Deloitte representatives on the phone if there are any questions, but management is very comfortable with the reduction in fee that was made since the 2016 audit, and we are bringing this engagement forward for you to approve. Again, this is a simple verification and attestation related to the Penn State University's employee data as it relates to what is submitted to the Pennsylvania State Employee Retirement System. With that, I'll take any questions or any comments or any questions you'd like to ask Deloitte about the engagement.
Yeah, this is Ted Brown. First of all, I want to emphasize as strongly as I can that I've been in this committee quite a while, and we've worked with Deloitte all that time, and very pleased with the partnership, so don't misunderstand my question or comment. Number one is, I don't think we should be signing contracts that are relative to Penn State data that have no reference to the liability if, because of some act by our consultant, we are hacked. There's no reference whatsoever about any liability in that regard. Secondly, the liability in the contract is only the amount of the contract. In other words, if Deloitte's actions result in a $10 million impact to the university, the most they owe us is the $40,000, and I have a concern about that as well.
Okay. Ted, this is John Neary. Good morning, Happy New Year. I could take those back. I know we sent this to National Office consultation, so I can take those two questions back, but that's not something I can can change per se. I'd have to work with our national office on those two questions.
Okay.
And Ted, I guess what I would also add here is, we do have the standing engagement with Deloitte, and I realize that, you know, this is a different and standalone agreement, but we do have that working relationship with them as well, and the assurances we have. This data really is available to them already, as part of their normal engagement processes. I would just point that out.
Yeah, well, and that's why I made my preliminary positive comment about them. I mean, it's more representative of contract concerns than it is any question whatsoever in my mind about Deloitte.
Yeah, and the capital and damages, Ted, that comes up all the time in these engagements. I know there's legal reasons that it's written that way, so that's why I say I have to go back to the lawyers. As you know, I'm not a lawyer, but I know there's reasons it's written that way. So we'll work with Joe and team on that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, any other questions?
Alice Pope here. I have a very naive question because I've never been on the committee for this kind of an audit. What kind of bad outcome could come from this? I mean, I'm assuming this is very routine, but is there some sort of unfortunate news we might learn from this?
I don't. Yeah, this is Joe again. I don't want to speak for Deloitte. I'll let John respond from a Deloitte perspective. But the worst thing that could happen is they could say that the data that the university has been submitting from an employee standpoint is either, and from our standpoint, the worst thing they could say is we've been submitting fictitious employees. I'm very confident that is not the case. And really, I think to your point, Alice, it's a routine audit, and their independent auditors can't issue an opinion without doing some cyclical work on the employee databases that actually reside out in each one of the employers in the system. And so again, I think this is a routine. Could something bad happen? Yes. At any point, something bad could always come. A finding could come out of these. I would suggest this is among the lowest risks we have in the audit spectrum.
Thanks. That is how it seemed to me, but I always like to be prepared. Appreciate it.
Okay, any other questions? All right, hearing none, Joe, I think we need a vote, right?
Yeah.
I'll move approval.
Okay. All right, do I hear a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
I'm not opposed, but I would, this is Ted again, I would like to, wait a minute, if I don't vote in favor, you don't have a quorum without me, do you?
Correct.
Okay, in the interest of progress.
Excuse me.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Frank.
maybe that's, Frank, go
Sorry.
ahead.
Excuse me, this is Frank. Yes, there is a quorum. If you take a vote and it turns out not to be unanimous, that's the vote, but it doesn't affect the quorum.
Okay, good point.
Sorry, what I meant though, don't you need a majority to pass it?
The majority of the quorum, yes.
Oh, of the quorum, so 4 vote in favor of it, it still passes?
Correct.
Okay, I don't want to get in the way of progress, so I will abstain subject to my earlier question as long as I'm assured that I did not stop it being approved, if that makes sense to everybody.
It does, and John Neary and I will work together, Ted, to kind of get back to you with a response and close the loop.
Great, thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Great. All right, Joe, is there anything else that we have to cover, or are we done?
This was a one-hit wonder agenda today. That's it.
All right, thank you, everybody, for especially making yourself available on January 2nd. Appreciate it. And everybody, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Thanks. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.